All right, so you are on here. You should be logging into a Nearpod for Tuesday, December 5th. With us only having one live lesson this week, we need to get in another lesson here. So we're going to be classwork grade based on doing these Nearpods as well as on the practice. And you've hopefully know by now I've been recording at least a small grade that is significant, just to make sure you know that each of these things is important and significant to do. Okay, so make sure that you write answers on all the ones that I ask you to on this. All right. So today we're working on the solutions to inequalities and determining if a particular number is a solution to an inequality, explaining what it means for a number to be a solution to an inequality, and graphing solutions to inequalities on a number line. Okay. All right. So the first one here, and again, by now, and I put a code on here. It's also on Canvas everywhere too. ERT57 to get on this Nearpod. So make sure you're on there as you're doing this. Number line shows several points, each labeled with a letter. So there's different answers that are possible here. So we're filling in each blank with a letter. So the inequality statements are true. So for A, we need one where the first blank is greater than the second blank. So just remembering that greater's over here and less is over here, right? So go ahead and put down your A and B here and then unpause. Okay, so I'm going to put F is greater than C. Okay, you could have put F is greater than A, F is greater than E, E is greater than B, and so forth. Okay. Then on B, it says one that's less than. Okay, so for example, C is less than F, right? Jada thinks she's found 3 different ways to complete the first question correctly. Is this possible? Yes, maybe clearly is. So um, there are many ways of comparing. Okay. And again, I'm looking for when I'm seeing if I'm giving you credit on these, I'm looking for every answer that I do on here, you should have answered on yours. You might have a better way of answering this than me. All right. Possible value for each letter on the number line based on its location. Okay, so just pause and do your best on that and then watch mine based on my answer. All right, so I'm thinking if this is 0, I would say, well, that's -1. If that's about -1, that's about -3. E is a little further from 0 than B is, so I would probably go with something like 4 there. All right, then F might be 6, and then this one might be -7 or something like that. All right, it just depends on how you did your intervals there. All right. Okay, next part. Using amusement park rides for the example here. All right, a solution to inequality is a number that can be used in place of a variable to make the inequality true. So for C is less than 10, 5 is a solution because 5 is less than 10. All right, 9.9 would be right, 0, -4, -1 million, whatever. So basically what it's saying here is if we have C is less than 10, then anything that you could say, okay, I can replace the C with 5, then that's true. Okay. All right. Something like that. All right. All right. So Priya finds these height requirements for some rides at an amusement park. All right. So to ride the high bounce, you have to be between 55 and 72 inches. For Climathon, you have to be under 60 inches. And then Twirler Coaster is 58 inches minimum. So that means at least 58. Okay. So we need to write an inequality for each of the 3 height requirements. Use H for the unknown height, then represent the height requirement on a number line. If you already got it and you're like, oh, I know how to do this, you can go ahead and give it a shot and then, watch me go over it. But if you're like, I don't know what the heck he's talking about, well, just watch and copy down what I'm doing, okay? Because this is the lesson part. All right, so high bounce says between 55 and 72 inches tall. Okay, so all right, basically you got to be greater than 55, right? And then you got to be less than 72. Okay. So basically, if you'll notice here, the H is greater than 72, but then H is less than 55. Okay, so therefore, it'd be something like this: 55, 72, like this, and it could be anywhere in between there. Okay, so H could be anywhere in between that. Okay, your height can be anywhere in between that. All right, climathon, you have to be under 60 inches tall. So height has to be less than 60. So that does not include 60, but it could be anywhere over here. Okay, 59, 58, 57, etc. All right, twirl a coaster, 58 inches minimum. So your height has to be at least 58 inches, but it could include 58 inches. So we're going to put the little equal sign under there, greater than or equal to. So this time we're going to put a dot right there. Okay, and then to the right at 58. I didn't write it under or above for any particular reason. I just did. All right. So that's those three. Han's cousin is 55 inches tall. She doesn't think Han doesn't think she's tall enough to ride the high bounce, but Karen believes she's tall enough. Okay, so high bounce says you have to be more than 55 inches tall. Okay, therefore, Han, because you have to be above 55. Okay. All right. Priya can ride the climathon, but she can't ride the high bounce or the twirl coaster. Okay, so she can only ride the climathon. So which ones could be Priya's height? Okay, so to ride the climathon, you'd be less than 60. All right, so she's clearly less than 60. All right, then, so if she's less than 60, but to be in the high bounce, you have to be at least 55. Okay, so that means she must be, let's see, she can ride the climathon, so she's got to be less than 60. So if she was, say, 59, she could ride the high bounce too, or 58 or 57, 56. So she's got to be, she could be 53, right? But if she was 56, then she'd be able to ride the high bounce too. And if she was 59, she'd be able to ride the high bounce too. Okay. So 53 is the only one. So that would be the kind of reasoning behind that. Jada's 56. So Jada can do the climathon. So she's less than 60. All right. Let's see. If Jada is 56, she can do the high bounce because she's more than 55. Okay. But at 56, you have to be above 58 or at least 58 to do the twirl coaster. So she can't do the twirl coaster. All right. Kieran is 60 inches tall. Which rides can he go on? All right. He can't go on the climathon because he's too tall. You have to be less than 60. He can go on the high bounce because he's over 55, and he can go on the twirl coaster. So that can go on the high bounce and twirl coaster. Okay. So the inequalities: H is less than 75, height has to be less than 75, and height has to be above 64, represent the height restrictions of another ride. What are solutions to, we need to write three heights that could be solutions to both of those inequalities. Okay, so you got to be above 64 and less than 65. So three that are between that would be solutions, say 65, 70, 72. Any of those numbers that are above 64 and less than 75. Okay, so to be the solution means it works in that inequality. Okay, and some ways to find some solutions is you draw the number lines and kind of helps you to think through them. All right. So that's kind of the idea there. Okay. Just to basically to think through the situations and what makes sense of the situation. To inequality for the high bounce. Okay, so the high bounce says you got to be between 55 and 72. So now this is kind of a odd question in the sense of how many solutions, because you could be like half inches and things like that. But the idea would be there's only between 56 and 71. So 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, some things like that. Right? How many possible heights are there allowed? Only between 56 and 71. That's what I would say. Or only between and including 56 and 71. All right. Open circle and closed circle, what it's saying there is, what do you think about it? Like, do you understand it or not? What we're saying here is how I had these, and I said, well, that one's an open circle because it has to be less than, it doesn't include. All you got to think about with this is if you color it in if you can equal it. It's a point there. You don't color it in if it's not a point there. Okay. All right. Next, represent the height restrictions for all three rides on a single number line using a different color for each ride. Okay, so we're going to do high bounce. I'm going to do purple. So it's 55 to 72, and height is between that. Okay, so here's my, let's put 55 and 72 here. Okay, so this is going to be 55 to 72. All good right there for the high bounce. Okay. Then the next one, the Climathon, I'm going to do blue, and Twirler Coaster, I'm going to do red. So Climathon's blue, is less than 60. Okay, so but sorry, I should put that further, 57, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60, right there. And it can be that way. So that's going to be the second one. And then the third one is going to be 58 or above. So we should have a close-in circle there because it's minimum. And so that's at 58, and it can go this way. All right. So, sorry, I should have written the 60 right there. All right. Which part of the number line has all three colors on it? Well, that would be 58 and 59. So it's 58, 59, and then what's less than 60, right? So like 59 and a half, 59 and 3/4, and so forth. Okay, so you could be like 58, 59 inches. You could go on all three of them, right? That's kind of the idea of interpreting that 59 and a half. So you got to be less than 5 feet tall, right? Because that would be 60 inches. All right. So the synthesis question here, what it's asking is where a quantity can take on a range of values, um, would be things like, if you are on a playground, right, that kind of thing, or um, a certain ages that you can be to be in a certain program or things like this, right? So you got to be at least 13 or older, right? And it goes on up. Or, if you think about the speed limit on the highway, it says speed limit's 55 miles an hour. That means you can go anywhere up to and include 55 miles an hour. So you could go 42, 43, 44. Okay. Um, so for example, I'm going to give you the example of the speed limit. If the speed limit is, all right, so I'm going to do speed is S. So S is less than or equal to 55 miles per hour. Okay. And that would be a less than kind of thing. All right. But it's actually in this case talking about a range of, between two things. So I'm going to kind of go with a different one here. So if I say you have to be between the ages of 11 and 18, or let's pretend we're including that. Okay. So your age has to be, I'm going to use A for age. It's got to be greater than or equal to 11. and less than or equal to 18. Okay. Um, and so I included that. So that's a yes because I put less than or equal to. All right. That's the kind of situations we're talking about here. All right. Um, select all numbers that are solutions to the inequality W is less than 1. Okay. So we're on the number line here. It's kind of using a different situation here. So we got zeros here, 1, 2, like this. W is less than 1. It's going to be like this. Okay. So is 5 less than 1? No. Is negative 5 less than 1? Yes, because that would be over here on the left. Right. So negative 5 over here somewhere. Is 0 less than 1? Yes. Is 0.9 less than 1? Yes. Is negative 1.3 less than 1? Yes. Okay. So all those are solutions to that inequality because it's anything to the left of the 1 there. All right. So we're supposed to write an inequality for which 3, negative 4, and 2,300 are solutions. So the point is that we just got to go to the right of something. Well, what do we have to go to the right of? Well, negative 4 is supposed to be included. All right. So let's say negative 5 is not included. So our number is going to be greater than negative 5. Think about what I'm saying here. So if negative 5 is over here, we can start with negative 4, but not negative 5. So negative 4 is included, 0 is included, 3 is included, and then way the heck over here, 2,300 is included. How many solutions are there to that inequality? They're unlimited. Why? Because they could go to infinity, right? Like it could go to 5 million. Okay. All right. So the idea today was to determine if a particular number is a solution or not, explain what it means to be a solution of inequality, and graph the solutions on number lines. So we worked on that a little bit. We're going to work some more on that in the practice. Okay. Make sure you've done all the slides that I have. Draw it on the Nearpod enabled. It means I wanted you to write something on there. And when you've done that, make sure you also do the 12-5 practice. There's just a handful of problems there. And then get that turned in to get your credit for both parts of the classwork for today.